everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Rohit. This is the fifth session of the GRC. In these sessions, we'll talk about that scoping or entity scoping. So in the GRC, entity or entity scoping is a very important factor. In this entity scoping, we'll understand the four topic. One is the entity class, entity type, entity filter, and entity. And if in case if you want this PPT, you can visit my website called Snow Expert Rohit. From here, you can go to the service and then documentation, and there you have a governance, risk, and compliance. From there, you can directly access that our PPT. So without wasting time, let's get started the entity scoping and understand that what does it means by the entity scoping. Before I start with the entity scoping, I'll request everyone please like my channel, share and subscribe my channel. And also if you who have not watched my previous video, please go and watch my previous video because this is a very interrelated topic. So watch from the beginning to understand what is the entity scoping and how we are doing. Also through the diagram, I'll show you that how they are going to be relate with each other. Okay. So in the entity scoping, we have four components. One is the entity class. Entity class is nothing but kind of a tag which can help you to see in broader scale in the organization level. So if you see the definition, what it is saying that entity class are used to tag your entities and to provide the complete view of the risk status in your organization. So it will give you the complete view of your organization, what are the risk or the issue status in your complete entire organization. Next is the entity type. Entity types enable you to find and create entity that matches a set of filter condition. So basically, entity type is the type which will actually combine multiple entity to a one single component called entity type. Entity filter. Entity filter is nothing but that actually help you to create entity automatically. Okay, so entity types enable you to find and create entity that matches a set of filter conditions. So using the entity filter, we are going to create the entity automatically. And what is the entity? In GRC, entity can be people, process, department, application, or object whose exposed must be managed. So if you see here in this diagram, entity design, if you see there are multiple entities, one, two, three, and these entity are combined with the entity type, and then in this entity type, which is actually matches to the risk management or the control objectives, and from this control objective, it generate the control. Okay, so let's understand in the service now what is the entity, what is the entity type, and how they are added here. So in the service now, if you type the scoping, uh, you will be able to see one module called entity class, entity type, my entity, all entities, inactive entities, business process. So these are the module are available. So let's open the entity class. And in this entity class, you can see, as I mentioned, that entity class is nothing but a tags. So let's say these are the entity class, and if I open the entity type, so these are the entity type is available right now. So let's open one of these entities. Let's call that entity type is the vendor. So in this entity type vendor, you can see that we have 78 entities. Okay, and in the 78 entities, we have entity filter. Okay, if I open the entity filter, you can see uh, here the entity type filter is defined. Okay, and in this filter condition, what the condition is that it is querying to the core company table and then vendor is true. So based on that filter, it will if you see that the total record is 78, it means that using this filter actually these entity are getting created. Okay, and after that in this assignment you can see we have a entity class which is nothing but a tag, as I mentioned, right? So it's a company. You can see this is a entity class, And in this entity class, you have this all these entities also inside this one. So let's create one, our case, let's create one entity type. In this case, entity type needs to be created manually. So I am going to create one entity type called department right now. So I'll put the GRC department and click save that. So entity type will be created manually. As I mentioned, that entity type will be created manually, and it helps you to bundle multiple entities, right? And then in this entity type, we have entity filter. So in this entity filter, what we are going to do, we are going to create a filter condition. So in our case, let's say if you see, whenever you click create new, you have a two type of filter type. One is the build your own filter condition, or you can select the pre defined queries, and where you can select the some predefined query which is created earlier. So we'll select that our build your own condition, and here we'll select the department. Okay, once we select the department, it is showing the seven record. It means that the GRC department in a CMN department table, basically we have a seven records, and these entity type will have seven entities. Okay, and then we have a assignment section. In this assignment sections, we have a entity class. Okay, which is nothing but if I open this entity class, you can see this is the entity class which is created earlier, so I can use the existing entity class. Now in this default owner, you can select any of this owner name. So if that owner is not exist, what owner should be selected? Okay, and here you have a checkbox called use owner field. Based on that, you can select any of this field. So let's say department head, I will select that. It means that it will be create seven entry or seven entities, and based on that, it will set some owner, and then their default owner is the able tutor in case it is not find out. Otherwise, it will set the department head as a owner, and then the class or tag will be the department. Okay, so let's submit that. One important things needs to be noted down here, that whenever I am selecting that department equal to CMN department, right, and it will automatically select the entity class which is the department, because that entity class, in this entity class we also define that table name, and that's the reason whenever I am selecting the table name, that department, automatically the entity class will be selected. The point I am trying to make here, that if you see here in this entity type, I already have a department, and I also created one more department called GRC department right now, right? So you don't need to create multiple entity type for each and every time, for each and every policy. This will be the one-time job. For the demonstration purpose, I created one entity type called GRC entity type. But basically, for one kind of entity type and for similar kind of entity, it will be one entity type. Not like for each and every, I am going to create that entity type. For demonstration purpose only, although the department was there, I have created the GRC department to show you the department. And that's the reason whenever we'll add whenever we'll add the filter, it will generate the entities, the compliance or the data will be already exist, that the that will be already exist. I mean, the compliance percentage will be already exist. Now going back to that entity type again, we have created GRC department, right? And this is our filter. And in this filter, we have selected that all these, data. Now, right now you can see the entity is blank. Once we click that update entire entities from filter, So it will be update, it will be create the entities here based on the filter. So entity type is a type which is hold multiple entities, and the entities will be created automatically based on the entity filter. So let's refresh that. You can see the 7 entities are created right now and they have their own compliance. Okay, so this way we can create the entities. So let's going back to our diagram and design the diagram here. You can see this mark, it means that it will be created manually, and then this is the either manually or it can be, you know, by UCF document. So what we'll do here in this diagram now, what we'll do, this is the policy. What I am going to do here, I am going to so understand quickly here. So far, whatever we done, we have divided two part in the left side and the right side. In the left side, we have UCF document. From there, it is imported the authority document, citation, and then control objective, and we created that policy manually, and then attestation here. Now in the right side, what we did then, this is the one-time job called entity class, and then we have entity type, and entity type have entity filter. So entity type will have entity filter, entity filter will have entity class, and which will automatically generate the entity basically based on the entity filter. This will generate automatically. So I'll add the text equal to automatically generate. It is automatically generated here. Okay, so that's it for today. In the next session we'll talk about that how we can generate the control and how they will be relate with that. So till the time, if you like my video, share, subscribe, and let me know if you have any doubt in my comment section. Thank you very much. Have a great day.